Greetings, welcome back. Chapter 17, the last chapter of the book, and I promise you'll be done with me with the exception of our final examination. Chapter 17 is a relatively easy case, easy chapter because it's all about prepping for court. And I'm going to kind of break this down for you how you really should do it. I definitely like Chapter 17, I like the information it offers you. Much like a lot of books that I read here today, I use them as a supplement to work with what I do professionally, what my ethics require of me. And when I read that, a lot of it all has to do with making sure that you confirm everything that you do, that you ask questions along the way, and you seek out the opinions of others, and you always make sure that you always have a teammate. And let's talk about this a little bit. So number one, if you are going to be a police officer or you're going to be in any sort of law enforcement capacity, so that would not include like a case manager. A case manager is not really a law enforcement capacity, but a probation officer would be, a juvenile probation officer would be, correctional officer would be. You know, just because you're a correctional officer, there's still going to be constitutional rights you have to deal with, and investigations, and you're still going to have to deal with all this stuff. So if you're in that law enforcement capacity, it's always important to make sure you understand what it means to review the facts of your case. Because you don't want to just say that this happened. You want to be able to say that this happened and here's the evidence that shows it. And this whole entire time, I've given you some really good hypotheticals, at least I hope I have, on this idea of, collecting evidence at the scene and making sure that you secure the scene and then you maintain the integrity of everything you're doing. So that means making sure you're always protected. You're wearing gloves when you have to wear gloves. You're taking swabs when you need to take swabs. When you observe something that you just can go away and that it can disappear relatively quickly, that's something you need to get. So from the very beginning, good police work and good criminal justice work occurs when the people in the law enforcement capacities, like police officers, like probation officers, like correctional officers, when they initiate the process of all this, they are gathering things and they're investigating what it could be, but not really coming to any true conclusions at that point in time. They protect everything along the way and they document everything along the way. So this means that you not only collect the evidence, but you write the evidence and what you think it is down and where it's at. And you write it in detail. And you make sure that these two things are always linked together at all points in time. And then also along with that, you make sure you send it forward. You make sure you send it forward with this information so that the chain of custody can then be established, because you don't want a snot-nosed, sneezy defense attorney who knows everything about every technicality to come along the way and say that there's a small hole right there when you are trying to link the paper trail and the physical evidence. You don't want them to say that there's a link missing to the point to where now the evidence is thrown out. You work so hard in that situation. So making sure you always review the facts of your case, making sure that the facts that you have line up with the real evidence that you have and that they link up together through documentation along the way and through the process. That's very important. Now, what if you're not in that law enforcement realm? What if you're not in that situation where you are gathering and pushing it forward? You're more of that case manager. Well, in that situation, you're more an observer. You're not gathering evidence. You're waiting for it almost. Your job is to ask questions. You do try to figure some things out along the way from reading the files on a particular suspect or a particular defendant. But your job is really to wait for it to come to you. But then when it finally does come to you, what do you do it then? And your job is to preserve it at that point in time. You want to wait for it, grab it, and protect it, and wait for it to be sent to the next step that it needs to go on. These are all very important things to understand. Understanding everything that we've done, you're going to be asked at some point in time by an attorney who is going to come to you and ask you, some very serious questions. And it's going to be your job to be able to reference back to what you did along the way. And everything that I've kind of imparted on you throughout this course are questions that I would ask from the position of an ADA or defense attorney. So if you really, take the time to understand this information, you'll have an understanding and be able to foreshadow a little bit, when you're out there in the criminal justice field as a professional, the type of things that are going to be looked for in these situations, all the way down just from the basic research. I mean, it's never a bad idea to do some independent research on your own, because I'll tell you right now, attorneys They don't know all the answers. They really don't. And they do need the help of good, hardworking criminal justice professionals to help them provide the answers. You never know. You might research something and find the answer to something that that person could not find. So making sure that once you push it forward, that you just don't stop asking the questions. You don't stop approaching attorneys, and you don't stop approaching judges. Be careful with approaching judges, though. There might be some situations where that's not a good idea. But, talking to the attorneys is a very good idea. And working with them and being in collaboration with them, because their insight is very useful, because they also know how to navigate the courtroom and navigate the law. And with you and a good attorney working in concert together, because the attorney is really just trying to navigate this stuff. The attorney is taking all the information you guys collected, the information that you took especially from the criminal law enforcement side. You took the documents and the physical evidence, linked them together, and then pushed them forward into the chain of custody. Really, the ADA's job at that point in time is just to navigate that evidence into the courtroom and make sure it's presented to the judge and the jury in the proper format. And then just make a clever argument possibly at the end of the day to say whether or not, the defendant is guilty. So that's chapter 17. That's chapter 17. There's a lot of good information in there. It is going to be tested. I have tested it. It's on the test. But I want you to understand that basic foundation, that those concepts and theories and principles that I've imparted on you, because they're very important to my professional career, and it's the reason why a lot of my colleagues look to me for advice when they're in situations that are very similar. So it's been a pleasure working with all of you. I've had a wonderful time teaching this course for the first time around, and I really hope the best for all of you. And always know that I'm a resource to you. Feel free to always reach out to me. If you need a reference for anything, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to type that up for you. If you guys don't have anything else, I look forward to hearing all the great news about what you guys accomplish in the future. See you next time.